chance that everyone in here has taken their pet to the veterinarian's office at least once in their lifetime. And there's also a good chance that your pet has needed some sort of operation before, like neutering or spaying or something like that. And we usually feel pretty comfortable about this because we know that the veterinarian has been through a lot of schooling before and that they've done a lot of dissections and they're just really experienced. But would you feel as comfortable if you knew that your veterinarian had been through schooling but had never done a dissection before? They had only learned about doing operations through books and through presentations. So I've only done a few classroom dissections before, but when I learned that there was a lot of opposition against it, I decided to research it, and I learned a lot of interesting information. So to help you understand classroom dissections, I will go over the pros, the cons, and the alternative methods for the controversy. Okay, so most of the positive aspects that go around it have to do with education and learning, and a lot of it is teachers believe that students can take what they've learned from books and from presentations and see exactly what they've been learning and see it in a dissection when they perform on the animal. And it also gives the aspect of realism, so they can look down and see what the books have been depicting, except they see it in person and they see what it actually looks like. And it also gives hands-on learning. As you can see here, the veterinarians actually perform on actual animals. So dissections help because you can work on an animal and see exactly what you would be doing in a real-life situation, so you get the hands-on experience that you couldn't get from a book. So to learn more about this, a scientific researcher named Johnson performed a survey in 2004 where he interviewed over 400 high school biology teachers, and he asked whether they believe it's important for their students to be doing dissections in class, if it was important for the curriculum. And of the 400 teachers that were surveyed, 71% of them said that, yeah, they thought it was really important, they thought it was crucial for the students to be able to perform on animals. But of that 71%, 66% of those teachers said that they thought that students should have an alternative method in case they don't want to do the dissections. They should be given a second option. Okay, and so then we'll move on to the cons. There are organizations and teachers that believe dissections should not be taking place in classrooms because they believe that it enforces animal cruelty, and they think that, such as the Humane Society thinks that it'll teach students to believe that animals are expendable and that people can just do whatever they want to them for whatever purpose. Lynette A. Hart, publisher of Animal Uses and Dissections, also believes this. She thinks that it teaches animal cruelty outside of the classroom because she studied it and realized that there are actually cases where students learn about dissections in classrooms and then go on outside and do their own tests. Jan Oakley of the International Journal of Environmental and Science Education reported that 10 to 12 million animals are killed every year for dissections in just North America alone. And these are usually the animals that are used for dissections. It's usually smaller animals like mice and rats and cold-blooded animals like frogs and snakes. And even though they're small, millions of those animals are being killed every year just for our dissections in classrooms. And this brings on other problems like the immaturity of some students, especially in high school. Some people aren't taking it seriously. So then they're just cutting open animals and they don't really care about it, so they're not gaining any learning from it. They're just doing it, which means the animals are being killed for no reason. And there's also other problems, such as students who do refuse to dissect, which means the teacher will either have to give them a 0 on their assignment, or they'll have to come up with an alternative method to grade them, which means that they're not being graded on the same level as other students. There's also the problem of health hazards, like poor ventilation in science classrooms, or if there's a lot of high bacteria, because there's animals that are just sitting out for a long time, which means bacteria is building. And then there's also the problem of improper disposal. If they're not completely done correctly, then there is again the chance of bacteria spreading. So finally, we'll move on to alternatives. Because technology is growing, there's a lot of researchers who think that dissections aren't as necessary as they used to be. So they've come up with other ways. One of the main ways is just more presentations, more graphs, and more charts for people to understand dissections. But they've also come up with stimulated dissections, which is really cool. They use, for one example, is 3D models like up there, or the skeleton, so that students can just look at it and see what it would look like, except it's fake. And then there's also the idea of virtual dissections, which is, it's almost like a game where they create lifelike animals as a cartoon type thing, and you can use the tools that you would be using in a science classroom, except it's all fake. You cut it open and dissect it like you would, but it's not real. But even though it's like realistic, some teachers have a problem with it because they believe that kids are learning how to play video games instead of how to actually dissect an animal. There's also the problem that some schools don't have the same amount of technology as other classrooms do, as other schools do. So then some schools are at a better advantage because they can't afford the technology. So let's review. There's a lot of positive and negative aspects that surround classroom dissections. The positives mostly have to do with learning and education, and the negatives have to do with the ethics, like killing animals and animal cruelty. The alternative methods that have come from it are 3D models, presentations, and virtual dissections. And with all the positive and negative aspects, there is a chance that in the future, classroom dissections will disappear forever. Thank you. Are there any questions?